Ayla grew up in a quiet town where life moved slowly and people knew each other well. Her home was an old house that carried the memories of many generations. And in the corner of the living room stood a piano that had been there for as long as she could remember. It was a big wooden piano with faded keys and chipped edges, and most people who visited the house would glance at it once and then look away. They would say it was too old, too damaged, or that it was nothing more than an old relic taking up space. But Ayla never believed that. She felt something warm whenever she looked at it, as if the piano was waiting for someone to understand it again. She often sat beside it, even if she did not play, and she would run her fingers across the keys just to hear the soft sounds that still came out. Even though the piano was no longer in good shape, one quiet afternoon, while the rest of her family was busy with their own routines, Ayla decided to clean the piano properly. She brought a cloth and a small brush and began to wipe the dust from every corner. As she lifted the heavy lid, she noticed something she had never seen before. Inside, near the inner frame, she saw thin symbols carved lightly into the wood. They were small and delicate, almost hidden under layers of dust and time. She stared at them closely and felt a strange mix of excitement and confusion. These marks did not look like scratches from age or careless use. They looked intentional, like someone had carved them very carefully, many years ago. She leaned in even closer, trying to understand the shapes. They were not letters she recognized, and they were not numbers either. They looked more like patterns, maybe symbols that meant something unknown. Ayla felt the quiet room around her changing. It was as if the piano was slowly telling her that it held a story no one had bothered to listen to. She wanted to know more. She wanted to understand the reason behind those symbols and why someone had carved them in a place where they would be so hard to find. She ran her fingers along the carvings and felt the grooves under her touch. They were smooth, not rough, which told her that the carving had been done with care. For a moment, she wondered if her family knew anything about this, but she doubted it. Most of them had little interest in the piano. They saw it as a heavy piece of furniture, too old to repair and too costly to maintain. Ayla, however, felt differently. She always believed everything old had a history. Everything old had seen moments that new things had not. She continued cleaning until the piano looked much better than before. The wood looked brighter, and the keys looked a little more alive. But her mind kept returning to the symbols. She took a picture of them with her phone and stared at the image over and over again. The shapes did not change, but her curiosity grew stronger. She wondered who carved them and why. She wondered if the piano had once belonged to someone who used those symbols for music or messages, or something completely different. As the evening light came through the windows, Ayla pressed a few keys gently. The sound was uneven, but still warm. She listened carefully, and as she pressed the keys near the symbols, she noticed something interesting. Some keys created a deeper sound than the others, as if something inside the piano responded differently. She pressed them again, slowly, trying to understand the pattern. It felt unusual, and she wondered if it had something to do with the carving she found. Her heart beat faster as she listened again. She thought maybe it was just her imagination, but the sounds were clearly different. She pressed the same keys a few more times, listening closely to how the echoes traveled through the room. She felt like the piano was speaking in a quiet language only she could hear. She did not know what it meant yet, but she was sure it was important. She decided she needed to learn more about the piano's past. The next day, she asked her parents if they knew anything about the symbols inside the piano. They looked surprised. Her mother said the piano had belonged to Ayla's great-grandfather, who loved music and used to play every evening, but no one else in the family had opened the inner panel or inspected it so closely. Her father said the piano had never been repaired because it was too old in most repair shops. said it would cost more than the piano was worth. No one mentioned anything about cymbals. It seemed like Ayla was the first one to discover them. But instead of stopping her curiosity, their answers only made her more determined. She felt there was a story in that piano waiting to be discovered. She began searching online to see if anyone recognized similar symbols on instruments, but she found nothing. Then she visited the local library and looked through books about old instruments, musicians, wooden craftsmanship, and anything that might give her even a small clue. She spent hours flipping through pages full of drawings, diagrams, and old records, but still could not find a match. Still, she refused to give up. She took the picture to an elderly music teacher in her town. He had taught music for more than 40 years and had seen many instruments, old and new. When Ayla showed him the image, he squinted, adjusted his glasses, and took a long moment to look at it. He then said something that made Ayla's curiosity grow even stronger. He told her the symbols reminded him of markings used by a small group of musicians many decades ago, musicians who believed music could hold hidden messages. They would sometimes leave coded symbols on their instruments, not for decoration, but for people who understood their system. He said he had never actually seen such a piano himself, but he had heard stories of rare instruments that carried secret designs. Ayla felt a mixture of excitement and disbelief. Could her piano really be one of those? Could the symbols be part of something bigger, something forgotten over time? She thanked the teacher and walked home with her mind full of questions and possibilities. As she walked, she looked at the picture again. The old wood, the soft carvings, the careful lines. Everything felt more meaningful now. When she reached home, she sat by the piano again. She looked at the carved symbols and listened to the keys that produced the strange, deeper sounds. She pressed them again, this time slower and with more attention. She tried to hear if the sounds formed a pattern or rhythm. She tried to imagine what the person who carved those symbols had been thinking. She wondered if the piano was hiding something inside, something placed there long ago. Hours passed as she sat beside the piano, exploring each detail with gentle patience. The house grew quieter as night arrived. Her family went to sleep, leaving Ayla alone with the soft glow of a lamp and the old piano that now felt more alive than ever. She felt a strong connection with it, as if the piano trusted her, as if it waited all these years for someone who would pay attention. She felt comfort sitting beside it. She felt like she had found something she did not know she was looking for, something that made her feel strangely complete. She touched the carvings again and closed her eyes for a moment. She imagined a musician from long ago carving those symbols with care, perhaps hiding something important within the piano. She slowly stood up and walked around the piano, touching its wooden edges. She looked underneath, behind the legs, around the pedals. She was searching for anything unusual. And then she noticed a part of the wood near the back that looked slightly different in color, almost as if it had been replaced or touched more often than the rest. Her breath caught a little. She leaned closer and tapped gently on each section with her fingertips. Most of the wood gave a solid, consistent sound, but this small part made a softer sound, empty and hollow. Ayla felt her heart beat faster again. She pressed her fingers over the area and felt a small line, almost like an edge. It was difficult to see in the dim light, but she knew this was something worth checking. She fetched a small flashlight and tried to open the panel, but it was tightly fitted. She tried pushing it gently from different angles, not wanting to damage the old wood. After a few tries, the panel moved slightly, just enough to confirm that it was not fixed permanently. Ayla felt a wave of excitement rush through her. The piano was definitely hiding something. She did not force it open that night. She wanted to take her time. She wanted to understand the piano fully before making any risky moves. She sat on the floor beside it and rested her head against the wood. The piano felt warm, And she felt calm, even though her mind was full of questions. She thought about how everyone always said the piano was useless. They said it was old and broken, something that belonged in storage, not in a home. But she felt grateful she had never listened to them. She felt grateful she had always seen the piano as something special, something filled with stories. That night, Ayla went to sleep with a quiet smile. She knew her life was about to change. She did not know how or why, but she could feel it deep inside. She had unlocked the first step of a path she never expected to walk, and part of her was ready for whatever she would find next. She knew the piano was not just an old relic. It was something much more, something waiting to reveal a hidden truth. And she was ready to listen. The next morning, Ayla woke up with her mind buzzing with thoughts about the piano. She could not stop thinking about the cymbals, and the strange part of the piano that had felt hollow when she touched it. She had a strong feeling that there was something more inside, something that had been hidden for a very long time. She wanted to explore further, but she also wanted to prepare. She needed information, tools, and a clear plan. She decided to start by learning as much as she could about hidden compartments in old pianos and any stories of musicians who left messages in their instruments. Iyla spent the morning at the library, surrounded by books about music history, piano craftsmanship, and even local archives that had records of her town from over 100 years ago. She discovered that old pianos were sometimes built with secret compartments. The purpose could be simple, like keeping spare strings or small tools. But in rare cases, musicians had hidden sheet music, letters, or coded messages. She read about famous composers who were known to hide their work in unusual ways, so it would survive even if they could not complete it themselves. Ayla felt a shiver of excitement. Could her piano be part of such a secret? By the afternoon, she returned home with notes, sketches, and ideas about how she could carefully examine the piano. She also remembered the music teacher's words from the day before. He had mentioned that symbols like the ones in her piano were sometimes used by musicians to leave coded messages for those who would understand them. Ayla felt the piano was inviting her to become the person who would understand it. She smiled at the thought and began preparing herself to explore it more carefully. She cleaned the living room and arranged her tools on a small table nearby. There were soft cloths, a flashlight, a small brush, and a few other tools she had borrowed from her father's workshop. She did not want to damage the piano in any way, so she prepared each step carefully. She studied the hollow section she had found the night before and gently tried pressing and tapping different parts to see if it responded differently. She noticed a slight vibration when she pressed certain areas, which made her heart beat faster. It was like the piano was trying to tell her something. Ayla decided to focus on the keys near the cymbals first. She pressed them in different sequences, listening carefully to each sound. Some keys made the usual note, while others made a deeper, longer echo that was different from the normal tone. She wrote down each note and its position, creating a small chart to see if a pattern would emerge. Hours passed, but she did not feel tired. She was completely absorbed in the process, as if the world outside no longer existed. As evening approached, she noticed that the light in the room changed, casting long shadows over the piano. She felt a strange mix of nervousness and excitement. She pressed the keys slowly, following the patterns she had written down. At one point, she pressed a sequence of keys that created a vibration strong enough to make her notice a tiny click from the hollow section. Her eyes widened. That was new. Something inside the piano had moved, or maybe a mechanism had been triggered. She pressed the keys again, more carefully this time. The click repeated, and she realized she had discovered a hidden mechanism inside the piano. Ayla leaned closer and examined the hollow section with her flashlight. She noticed faint outlines of a small panel that seemed to be separate from the rest of the wood. It was cleverly hidden and matched perfectly with the piano's interior design. She gently pressed around the edges and discovered that it could be lifted, though it required delicate handling. Her hands trembled slightly, but she was careful. Slowly, she lifted the panel, revealing a small compartment just big enough to hold something important. Her heart raced as she peered inside the hidden compartment. Ayla found a sheet of old handwritten music. The paper was yellowed with age, and the ink had faded in some places, but the notes were still visible. There was also a small brass key, carefully placed on top of the music. Ayla's mind swirled with questions. Who had left this here? Why had it been hidden? And most importantly, what did it unlock? She took the music and key out and examined them closely. The music looked unusual. Some notes were missing, and the spaces between the notes seemed intentional, almost like a code. The brass key was simple but well made, with a small inscription that was difficult to read. Ayla felt a mix of fear and excitement. She knew she was holding something rare, something that might have been lost forever if she had not discovered it. Ayla spent the next few hours trying to understand the sheet music. She played the notes she could see on the piano, listening to the melody carefully. Even with the missing notes, the music was beautiful and haunting, filling the room with an emotion that was hard to describe. She noticed that when she played certain sequences, the hollow section made subtle vibrations again, almost as if it responded to the melody. It was like the piano itself was alive and interacting with her. By nightfall, Ayla knew she could not figure this out alone. She decided to visit the elderly music teacher again, hoping he could help her decipher the sheet music and understand the purpose of the brass key. She also planned to take more notes about the piano's interior and the vibrations she had noticed. She carefully returned the hidden panel to its place, making sure it looked untouched, and placed the sheet music and key in a safe spot. The next day, Ayla went to the music teacher's home. She showed him the sheet music and explained what she had discovered inside the piano. The teacher's eyes widened in surprise as he examined the paper. He could see the missing notes and the unusual spacing immediately. He listened as Ayla described how the piano responded to certain sequences. He seemed thoughtful, almost as if he was remembering something long forgotten. After a long pause, the teacher said he believed the music was part of a coded message, just as he had suspected when he saw the symbols. He explained that some musicians from the past had created music that included hidden information, instructions, or even maps to other compositions. The missing notes and the spacing were not errors. They were deliberate, part of the code. Ayla felt a chill run down her spine. This was more than she had imagined. The piano, the cymbals, the music, and the key were all pieces of a puzzle that someone had carefully designed a long time ago. The teacher offered to help Ayla analyze the music. They spent hours going over the sheet, trying to figure out the pattern of the missing notes. Ayla explained how the piano's hollow section had vibrated when she played certain keys. The teacher nodded and suggested that the vibrations might indicate which notes were important, which could lead them to the hidden message. They worked together, experimenting with different sequences and combinations. As the evening approached, Ayla felt a sense of achievement. They had not fully decoded the message yet, but they had made progress. She could see that the music had a deeper purpose than simply being a melody. It was like a key within a key, a secret waiting to be unlocked. Ayla felt a new connection to the piano, a sense that it trusted her to continue the search. When she returned home that night, Ayla carefully placed the sheet music and key back in the hidden compartment. She sat by the piano and played a few gentle notes, feeling the vibrations and listening to the echoes. The piano felt alive, responsive, and patient. She whispered to it, promising she would uncover its secret, no matter how long it took. She felt calm, determined, and full of hope. In the following days, Ayla continued to explore the piano in small steps. She pressed different keys, listened to the vibrations, and took detailed notes. She also researched more about musicians who had used hidden codes in their compositions. She began to see patterns in their methods, patterns that might match the symbols she had found inside the piano. Each discovery brought her closer to understanding the piano's secret and gave her the courage to keep going. Her friends and family still thought she was obsessed with an old relic, but Ayla did not mind. She knew she was part of something rare and important. She could feel it in every note she played and every vibration she felt. The piano was no longer just an old instrument. It was a puzzle, a message, and a story all in one. She felt connected to the past in a way she had never imagined, as if the piano was a bridge between her and someone who had lived long before her. Ayla's determination grew stronger each day. She knew the piano held more than she had discovered so far. The brass key, the hidden compartment, the symbols, and the coded music were all part of a larger mystery. She was ready to uncover it, step by step, with patience and care. She felt the excitement of discovery, the thrill of adventure, and the satisfaction of knowing she was doing something meaningful. The piano no longer seemed like an old relic to anyone who saw it. For Ayla, it was alive, full of secrets, and waiting to share its story. She had taken the first steps into a journey that would change her life, and she was ready to follow it wherever it led. Ayla could hardly wait for the weekend to arrive. She had spent the entire week thinking about the hidden compartment in the piano, the mysterious sheet music, and the brass key she had discovered. She felt closer to understanding the piano's secret than ever before. She knew she needed time to focus and explore the piano without interruptions. As soon as Saturday morning arrived, she prepared her tools and notebook and sat down beside the instrument. The house was quiet, and the sunlight poured softly through the windows, illuminating the keys she had grown so attached to. She started by pressing the keys slowly, following the pattern she and the music teacher had discussed. The vibrations from the hollow section beneath the keys responded just as before, confirming that there was something inside the piano that was reacting to the correct sequences. Ayla carefully documented each reaction, noting which keys triggered the strongest vibrations. She was becoming more confident in her understanding of the piano's hidden mechanism. Ayla then turned her attention to the small brass key she had found in the compartment. She inspected it closely under the light, noticing the tiny inscription along its side. The inscription was worn, but she could just make out a series of numbers and letters. She wondered if it was a combination for a lock or some kind of code. The key was heavy and solid, clearly made with care. Ayla held it in her hand, feeling its weight and imagining the hands that had made it long ago after hours of examining the piano and experimenting with the keys. Ayla decided to try using the key in places it might fit. She gently inspected every hinge, every small slot, and every corner of the piano's interior. Her patience paid off when she noticed a tiny, almost hidden slot beneath the keyboard. The shape seemed to match the key exactly. Ayla's heart raced as she inserted the key carefully. It slid in smoothly, and she turned it gently. There was a soft click, and the piano seemed to hum in response. Suddenly, a small panel under the keyboard slid open, revealing another hidden compartment. Ayla could hardly believe her eyes. The piano had a second secret, and she had unlocked it. Inside the compartment was a small envelope, sealed carefully with an old wax stamp. The envelope was fragile, and Ayla handled it with extreme care. She could see that it had been there for decades, untouched and waiting for someone who could understand its secret. Ayla carefully opened the envelope and found a folded piece of paper inside. The paper was thick and yellowed with age, and the handwriting was elegant but faded. She unfolded it slowly, feeling as if she were opening a message from the past. The letter was addressed to someone she did not recognize, but the words immediately caught her attention. It spoke about unfinished music, hidden melodies, and the hope that someone in the future would find the notes and bring them to life. The letter also referenced the symbols in the piano, explaining that they were a key to unlocking the full composition. Ayla sat back and read the letter again, absorbing every word. She could hardly believe what she had discovered. The piano was not just a musical instrument. It was a vessel for a hidden masterpiece that had been carefully protected for decades. The thought that she might be the person to finally unlock it filled her with both excitement and a sense of responsibility. She knew this was bigger than herself. This was a connection to someone from the past who had trusted her piano to keep their secret safe. She spent the next few hours examining the contents of the envelope. Along with the letter, there were sketches of musical notes and partial melodies. The music was incomplete, but it was clear that the composer had planned every detail carefully. Ayla realized that to complete the composition, she would need to understand the pattern of the cymbals, the coded sheet music, and the hidden vibrations of the piano. It was a complex puzzle, but she felt ready to take it on. Ayla decided to call the music teacher immediately. She wanted to share her discovery and get his advice on how to proceed. When he arrived, he was amazed at what Ayla had found. He examined the envelope, the letter, and the sketches, and his eyes lit up with excitement. He told Ayla that this was an extraordinary find, something rare and valuable not just for the music world, but for history itself. He said the piano, the cymbals, and the hidden music all pointed to a composer who had been known for leaving secret messages in their work. They spent the rest of the day analyzing the sketches and notes. Ayla played sequences on the piano, following the patterns suggested by the symbols, while the teacher observed and made suggestions. Each correct sequence seemed to awaken the piano, producing vibrations and echoes that were almost musical themselves. Ayla began to see a pattern emerging. The missing notes in the original sheet music corresponded to the positions of the cymbals, and when played in the right order, they activated the hidden mechanism inside the piano dot by late afternoon. Ayla and the teacher had made significant progress. They had identified a portion of the hidden composition and could play it on the piano, even though it was still incomplete. The sound was haunting and beautiful, filled with emotion and depth that Ayla had never heard before. She felt as if the piano were speaking directly to her, sharing its secret through the music. The experience was overwhelming, but she felt a sense of purpose and fulfillment she had never known before as the evening approached. Ayla carefully placed the envelope and sketches back into the hidden compartment. She wanted to protect them until she could continue her work the next day. She sat at the piano for a while, playing the sequences she had learned so far. The music filled the room with warmth and resonance, and she felt a deep connection to the composer who had left these notes behind. It was as if she were continuing a conversation that had started many years ago. The next few days were filled with careful study and experimentation. Ayla continued to press keys, follow patterns, and decode the hidden messages in the sheet music. She documented everything in her notebook, drawing diagrams, writing down sequences, and noting the vibrations she felt from the piano. Each discovery led to another, and she slowly began to piece together more of the hidden composition. She realized that patience and attention to detail were essential. One wrong note could disrupt the pattern, and the piano would not respond as intended. Ayla also started researching the composer mentioned in the letter. She found old articles, historical records, and references in music journals. The composer had been known for their creativity and for leaving secret messages in their works, but many of their compositions had been lost over time. Ayla realized that the piano she had discovered was likely one of the few surviving instruments that contained such a hidden message. The significance of her find began to sink in, and she felt a mix of pride, responsibility, and awe. One evening, While practicing a sequence she had been working on for hours, Ayla noticed something unusual. A particular combination of keys produced a slightly different vibration, one that seemed stronger than before. She pressed the keys again and again, listening carefully. The vibration was consistent, and she felt it through her fingertips. She realized that this sequence might be the key to unlocking the next part of the hidden compartment. Her excitement grew, and she could hardly wait to investigate further. Ayla decided to test the sequence carefully. She pressed the keys in the correct order, following the pattern suggested by the symbols and the sheet music. As she did, a soft click echoed from inside the piano. She held her breath and gently explored the interior with her hands. Sure enough, she found another small panel that could be lifted. Her heart raced as she carefully opened it, revealing yet another secret compartment. Inside the new compartment was a small box, made of dark wood and sealed with a delicate latch. Ayla opened the box slowly and found more sheet music, each piece carefully folded and labeled. There were also additional notes from the composer, explaining the intention behind the hidden compositions and providing clues for completing the unfinished music. Ayla could hardly believe her eyes. She had uncovered a treasure trove, historical and musical significance, all hidden within the piano she had once thought was just an old relic. Ayla spent hours examining the contents of the box. Each new piece of music added to the puzzle she had been working on, and each note brought her closer to understanding the composer's full vision. She realized that the piano was not only a musical instrument, but also a repository of history and creativity. The hidden compartments, coded music, and secret messages all worked together to preserve the composer's legacy. By the end of the day, Ayla felt a deep sense of accomplishment. She had unlocked a part of the piano's secret that had remained hidden for decades, and she was now on the path to discovering even more. The piano had become a companion in her journey, responding to her touch and guiding her through the complex puzzle of music and history. Ayla knew that she was just beginning, but she felt ready to continue. Driven by curiosity, determination, and a love for the music that connected her to the past, Ayla spent the next morning reviewing everything she had discovered so far. The piano had already revealed hidden compartments, coded music, and a letter from the composer. She felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She knew that what she had found was extraordinary, but she also understood that the real challenge lay ahead, unlocking the full secret and understanding the complete message hidden within the piano. She carefully set up her workspace in front of the instrument, spreading out her notes, sketches, and all the sheets of music she had recovered from the hidden compartments. She started by playing through the sequences she had already learned. The vibrations from the hollow sections responded as before, almost like the piano was confirming her progress. Ayla listened carefully to the notes, following the patterns she had written down in her notebook. Each key pressed felt purposeful, as if it had been waiting for her touch. She smiled, feeling a deep connection to the piano, a bond that had grown stronger with every discovery. After playing the sequences multiple times, Ayla turned her attention to the newly discovered sheet music in the small box. The notes were more complex than anything she had seen before, with gaps that seemed intentional. She studied the paper closely, comparing the missing notes to the symbols carved inside the piano. It was clear that the music was designed to interact with the instrument in a very specific way. She took her time, making sure to document every detail and trying not to miss anything. She then began experimenting with the brass key she had found earlier. It had opened one hidden compartment before, and she wondered if it could be used in combination with the new music she had discovered. Ayla carefully inserted the key into the hidden slot under the keyboard and turned it gently. There was a soft click, and she felt a vibration run through the piano. She pressed a few notes in the pattern suggested by the music, and to her surprise, another compartment began to shift slightly. Her excitement grew, She was on the verge of uncovering yet another secret. Ayla opened the new compartment and found a small, ornate box. Inside were more handwritten sheets of music, along with another letter from the composer. This letter was longer and more detailed, explaining the purpose of the hidden music and giving instructions for completing the unfinished composition. The composer wrote about their hope that someone in the future would be able to understand the codes and bring the music to life. Ayla felt a deep sense of responsibility. She realized that she was the person the composer had hoped for, chosen by fate to complete this extraordinary work. The composer's notes were precise and careful, describing how certain keys and sequences interacted with hidden mechanisms inside the piano. Ayla followed the instructions carefully, pressing the keys in specific orders and listening to the vibrations. Each correct sequence seemed to awaken the piano, producing sounds that were not only musical, but almost alive. She could feel the energy of the instrument responding to her touch, guiding her through the hidden message. Hours passed as Ayla worked tirelessly. She combined the sequences from the original sheet music, the sketches, and the newly discovered notes. The music began to take shape, revealing melodies that were hauntingly beautiful and emotionally powerful. She played the sequences repeatedly, making small adjustments to match the vibrations and the coded patterns. It was a painstaking process, but Ayla felt a growing sense of accomplishment. Each discovery brought her closer to completing the hidden composition dot in the late afternoon. Ayla decided to test the entire sequence she had assembled so far. She pressed the keys carefully, following the complex pattern she had documented. The piano responded exactly as expected, with subtle vibrations indicating that she was on the right track. As she played, she noticed that the vibrations seemed to highlight certain notes, almost like a guide to the next step. She quickly wrote down the new information, realizing that each sequence was part of a larger system designed to lead her. Through the complete composition, Ayla felt a deep sense of wonder. The piano was no longer just an instrument. It was a guide, a puzzle, and a teacher all at once. The composer's careful planning and attention to detail were evident in every note and every hidden mechanism. Ayla could feel the composer's presence through the music, as if they were guiding her hand and sharing their vision across time. The experience was overwhelming, but she felt a sense of connection and purpose she had never experienced before. She took a short break to rest and reflect. As she sat near the piano, she thought about how people had dismissed the instrument as an old relic. They had never imagined that it contained such a rich and intricate secret. Ayla felt grateful that she had trusted her instincts and not listened to the doubts of others. She realized that sometimes what appears to be ordinary can hold extraordinary possibilities, if someone is willing to explore and believe. After her break, Ayla returned to the piano with renewed determination. She focused on a particularly challenging section of the music, where the gaps in the notes were larger and the patterns more complex. She experimented with different sequences, listening carefully to how the piano responded. Each trial brought her closer to understanding the intended melody. The vibrations from the piano seemed to confirm her progress, guiding her hands as she played. She could feel the music coming alive beneath her fingers, revealing its hidden beauty. By evening, Ayla had managed to piece together a significant portion of the hidden composition. She played it from start to finish, feeling the power and emotion of the music fill the room. The melody was haunting, moving, and unlike anything she had ever heard. She could sense the composer's intent, the care and thought that had gone into each note, and the hidden message that connected the music to the piano's secret mechanisms. Ayla felt a deep sense of accomplishment and pride. She was uncovering a treasure that had been lost for decades, and she was doing it with patience, care, and respect. Ayla knew that she still had more to discover. The composer's letters hinted at additional hidden messages, and the piano's vibrations suggested that there were more secrets waiting to be revealed. She carefully documented everything she had learned, making detailed notes about the sequences, the hidden compartments, and the interactions between the keys and the piano's mechanisms. She also began to plan her next steps, thinking about how she could continue to decode the remaining sections of the music and uncover the full message dot as night fell. Ayla placed the letters, sketches, and sheet music back into the hidden compartments, making sure everything was secure. She sat at the piano for a few moments, playing a few gentle notes to end the day. The instrument seemed to respond to her touch, as if acknowledging her progress and encouraging her to continue. Ayla felt a deep sense of connection to the piano and the composer, a bond that transcended time and space, not in the days that followed. Ayla continued her careful study of the piano and its hidden music. She worked methodically, experimenting with sequences, documenting patterns, and decoding the messages embedded in the sheet music. Each discovery revealed new layers of complexity and beauty, and she felt increasingly confident in her ability to unlock the piano's full secret. She realized that the journey was as important as the destination, and she cherished the experience of exploring the piano's hidden world. Ayla also shared her progress with the music teacher, who was amazed by her discoveries. Together, they analyzed the sequences, tested new hypotheses, and refined their understanding of the composer's intentions. The teacher provided valuable insights and historical context, helping Ayla connect the music to the composer's life and artistic vision. The collaboration strengthened Ayla's understanding and reinforced her determination to continue the work dot as she prepared to continue her exploration. Ayla felt a sense of excitement and anticipation. She knew that the piano held even more secrets, and she was ready to uncover them. The hidden compartments, coded music, and mysterious letters were just the beginning. Ayla understood that her dedication, patience, and love for music would guide her through the challenges ahead. She felt a profound sense of purpose, knowing that she was entrusted with preserving and completing a masterpiece that had been hidden for decades. Ayla ended the day feeling inspired and motivated. She had made significant progress in uncovering the piano's secret, and she could sense that the most extraordinary discoveries were yet to come. She sat quietly beside the instrument, listening to the gentle echoes of her playing, and reflected on the journey that had brought her here. The piano was no longer just an old relic. It was a living testament to creativity, history, and the power of perseverance. Ayla felt ready to continue, determined to unlock the piano's final mysteries and share its hidden beauty with the world. Ayla woke up early with a mixture of excitement and determination. She had made great progress with the piano so far, unlocking hidden compartments, discovering coded music, and following the guidance of the composer through the letters. Today, she hoped to make an even bigger breakthrough. She arranged her notes, sheet music, and tools neatly beside the piano. The sunlight streamed softly into the room, and the piano seemed to glow with a quiet energy. Ayla felt a thrill of anticipation. She knew she was about to discover something extraordinary. She began her work by playing through the sequences she had already learned. The vibrations in the piano responded as before, confirming that she was on the right path. She carefully followed the patterns indicated by the symbols and the notes, listening closely to the echoes that seemed to guide her hands. Every correct sequence produced a deeper resonance, as if the piano was waking up from a long sleep and acknowledging her progress. Next, Ayla focused on the newly recovered sheet music from the ornate box. These pages were more intricate than anything she had seen before, with careful gaps and patterns that seemed almost impossible to decode. She studied the notes closely, comparing them to the symbols carved inside the piano and the instructions in the letters. Each detail seemed meaningful, and she realized that the composer had designed the music to interact perfectly with the hidden mechanisms of the piano. Ayla felt the weight of responsibility, but also a deep sense of wonder. She was piecing together something that had been hidden for decades. After hours of careful study, Ayla experimented with the brass key she had discovered earlier. It had already unlocked one secret compartment, and she suspected that it might be necessary for this next stage. She carefully inserted the key into a tiny slot beneath the keyboard, turning it gently. There was a soft click, and the piano seemed to vibrate in response. Ayla pressed the notes indicated by the music, and the hollow section beneath the keys shifted slightly. Her heart raced. She had found another secret, hidden even more cleverly than the previous ones. The compartment revealed a small envelope, similar to the ones she had discovered before. Inside was a folded piece of paper with more handwritten music and a detailed letter from the composer. This letter explained the purpose of the hidden melodies and offered further instructions for completing the unfinished composition. The composer wrote about the importance of music as a language and described how each note, pause, and vibration was part of a larger message. Ayla read the letter carefully, absorbing every word, and felt a deep connection to the composer's vision. She spent the next several hours playing the sequences suggested by the new sheet music, following the coded instructions, and listening to the piano's responses. Each correct note produced a subtle vibration, and certain combinations activated hidden mechanisms within the piano. Ayla carefully documented every discovery, noting the relationships between the symbols, the sheet music, and the piano's vibrations. She was beginning to see the full picture, and the music was slowly coming to life. By late afternoon, Ayla had assembled a significant portion of the hidden composition. She played the sequences from start to finish, listening to the hauntingly beautiful melodies that emerged. The music was emotional, intricate, and unlike anything she had ever heard. She could feel the composer's intent through every note, and the piano seemed to resonate with a life of its own. The experience was overwhelming, but Ayla felt a profound sense of fulfillment and purpose. She was bringing a long-lost masterpiece to life. Realizing that this was an extraordinary discovery, Ayla decided to reach out to the music teacher immediately. When he arrived, he examined the new sheets of music, the letters, and the piano's responses. His eyes widened with amazement. He told Ayla that the hidden compositions were not only musically significant, but also historically important. The composer had left behind a treasure that very few would have been able to unlock. Together, they began analyzing the new sequences, testing different hypotheses, and refining their understanding of the hidden messages. Hours turned into evening as Ayla and the teacher worked tirelessly. They played through the sequences repeatedly, adjusting and interpreting the gaps in the notes. Each time a correct sequence was played, the piano produced a response, almost like a subtle applause. Ayla felt a deep satisfaction. She knew she was uncovering something rare and beautiful, something that had been carefully protected for decades. The piano had become more than an instrument. It was a key to a secret world, a voice from the past guiding her hands. During their work, Ayla noticed a particular sequence that produced a stronger vibration than any other. She focused on this sequence, pressing each key slowly and precisely. To her amazement, a small hidden drawer beneath the keyboard shifted slightly, revealing another secret compartment. Inside was a small wooden box containing additional handwritten sheets of music, letters, and sketches. The composer's instructions were clear. Each piece was part of a larger composition, and the melodies were meant to be pieced together carefully to reveal the full work. Ayla carefully examined the contents of the box. The music was more complex than anything she had encountered before. Some of the notes were written in unusual patterns, and the symbols carved into the piano seemed to correspond directly to the arrangements. Ayla realized that the composer had designed the piano, the symbols, and the music as an interconnected system. It was a brilliant and intricate design that ensured only someone who paid close attention could fully understand the hidden masterpiece. She spent hours working on the newly discovered music, integrating it with the sequences she had already decoded. The piano responded beautifully, producing notes that were rich, clear, and emotionally powerful. Ayla felt the composer's presence through the music, as if they were guiding her hands and offering encouragement from the past. The experience was magical, and Ayla felt a deep connection to the music, the piano, and the composer who had hidden these secrets for so long. By nightfall, Ayla had completed a significant portion of the hidden composition. She played the entire sequence from start to finish, listening to the full melody as it filled the room. The music was hauntingly beautiful, complex, and full of emotion. Ayla felt a deep sense of accomplishment and pride. She knew that she was part of something extraordinary, a discovery that would be appreciated, not only for its musical value, but also for its historical significance. Ayla carefully documented her progress, making detailed notes about the sequences, the vibrations, and the hidden compartments. She also prepared the music and letters for safekeeping, ensuring that everything was secure. She sat at the piano for a few moments, playing a gentle melody to reflect on her journey. The instrument seemed to respond, as if acknowledging her dedication and encouraging her to continue. Ayla felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The piano was no longer just an old relic. It was a living testament to creativity, history, and the power of perseverance. In the days that followed, Ayla continued to explore the piano and the hidden music. She worked with the teacher to analyze the remaining sequences, test hypotheses, and refine her understanding of the composer's intentions. Each day brought new discoveries, and Ayla felt increasingly confident in her ability to unlock the piano's full secret. She realized that the journey was as important as the destination, and she cherished the experience of piecing together the composer's hidden masterpiece. Ayla also began to understand the broader significance of her discovery. The composer's work had been hidden for decades, and she had become the person entrusted with bringing it to life. She felt a profound sense of responsibility and excitement. Every note she played, every sequence she decoded, and every vibration she felt brought her closer to completing a work that had been lost to time. Ayla knew that her dedication, patience, and love for music were guiding her toward a truly remarkable achievement. As she prepared for the next stage of her exploration, Ayla felt a deep sense of anticipation. She knew that the piano still held more secrets, and she was ready to uncover them. The hidden compartments, coded music, and mysterious letters were just the beginning. Ayla understood that her efforts would not only complete a masterpiece, but also preserve a valuable part of history. She felt inspired and motivated, ready to continue her journey with determination, care, and an unwavering love for the music that connected her to the past. Ayla woke up early, filled with a quiet excitement. She had reached the final stage of her journey with the piano, the point where all the hidden music, symbols, and letters were beginning to come together. For weeks, she had been deciphering the composer's codes, unlocking secret compartments, and piecing together an unfinished masterpiece. Now, she felt a sense of anticipation she had never known before. Today, she hoped to bring the hidden composition fully to life. She arranged her notes, all the sheets of music, and the letters from the hidden compartments neatly beside the piano. The sunlight streamed into the room, casting a warm glow on the keys. Ayla sat quietly for a moment, her hands resting on the old wood, feeling the piano's energy beneath her fingers. She took a deep breath and began to play through the sequences she had already learned. The vibrations responded as before, gentle but precise. Confirming that she was ready to move forward, she began with the sequences that combined the first set of hidden music with the notes S.E.E. had uncovered in the most recent compartments. Each note felt purposeful, each pause intentional. Ayla carefully followed the patterns from the symbols and letters, listening to the subtle hum of the piano as it reacted to the correct sequences. She felt a sense of connection, as if the composer's hands were guiding her through time, helping her unlock the next stage of the composition. after playing the sequences several times. She focused on the brass key that had opened earlier compartments. She gently inserted it into the tiny slot beneath the keyboard and turned it slowly. The soft click echoed through the room, and the piano responded with a subtle vibration that made her fingers tingle. Ayla pressed the notes indicated by the new music, and to her amazement, another hidden compartment began to shift slightly. She had discovered yet another secret, cleverly hidden even deeper than the previous ones. Inside the new compartment was a small, carefully sealed box. Ayla opened it slowly and found more sheets of music, along with a letter from the composer. This letter was longer than the others and seemed to explain the purpose behind the hidden compositions more fully. It spoke of the connection between music and emotion, of how melodies could communicate in ways words could not. The composer had left these notes, symbols, and letters in the piano as a message to the future, a message that only someone with patience, attention, and love for music could understand. Ayla read the letter carefully, absorbing every detail. The composer described how each note, pause, and vibration was part of a larger pattern that needed to be understood to complete the music. Ayla felt a deep sense of responsibility and awe. She realized that she had been chosen to bring this masterpiece to life, to complete the music that had been hidden for decades. She felt a mixture of excitement and reverence, knowing that the work she was about to finish was both delicate and extraordinary. She spent hours at the piano, carefully following the sequences indicated by the newly discovered sheets. Each time she pressed the correct keys, the vibrations resonated through the piano in a way that was almost like a gentle confirmation. She adjusted the timing of her notes, paying attention to the subtle cues provided by the instrument. Slowly, the hidden melodies began to emerge, weaving together the sequences she had already decoded with the new compositions from the most recent discovery. By midday, Ayla had completed several long sequences. The music was hauntingly beautiful, rich with emotion and complexity. She could feel the composer's presence through the piano, guiding her hands and encouraging her to continue. The letters and symbols made sense in ways they had not before. Each detail, each carefully placed note, contributed to the overall masterpiece. Ayla felt a deep sense of fulfillment as the music began to reveal its full story. Feeling the need for guidance, Ayla called the music teacher. He arrived shortly and was amazed at the progress she had made. He carefully examined the sheets of music and the letters, nodding with excitement as Ayla explained how she had combined the sequences and followed the vibrations. Together, they experimented with different arrangements, testing the flow of the music and ensuring that each section fit perfectly with the next. The teacher's experience and insight were invaluable, helping Ayla refine the composition and uncover subtle nuances she might have missed on her own. Hours turned into evening, but neither Ayla nor the teacher wanted to stop. They played through the sequences repeatedly, making small adjustments to timing and interpretation. The piano responded beautifully, producing notes that were both clear and emotionally resonant. Ayla could feel the power of the music filling the room, as if the composer's spirit were present, celebrating the progress they had made. She felt a profound connection, not only to the piano, but also to the person who had left these secrets so many years ago. As night approached, Ella focused on the most challenging section of the hidden composition. This part had been hinted at in the letters, but required precise timing, careful attention to the vibrations, and exact sequences of keys. She pressed the notes slowly and deliberately, listening closely to how the piano responded. Each correct combination produced a deeper resonance, guiding her fingers to the next step. Ayla felt exhilarated and nervous at the same time. She was about to unlock the final section of the piano's hidden masterpiece. After several attempts and careful adjustments, she finally reached the moment where the final notes aligned perfectly with the hidden mechanisms. The piano responded with a rich, full resonance that filled the room completely. Ayla played the last sequence, and the melody emerged fully, hauntingly beautiful and emotionally powerful. She felt tears prick her eyes as she listened to the music she had uncovered and completed. The piano's vibrations seemed to celebrate the achievement, and Ayla felt a deep sense of triumph and connection. She had done what the composer had hoped for. She had brought the hidden masterpiece to life. Ayla and the music teacher played through the completed composition several times, savoring every note. The music was intricate, layered, and emotionally moving. It was unlike anything either of them had ever heard. The teacher expressed awe and admiration, saying that the work would be valuable not only as a musical achievement, but also as a historical treasure. Ayla felt proud and humbled. She knew that her dedication, patience, and love for music had been rewarded in a way she could have never imagined. After playing the final sequences, Ayla carefully returned all the letters sheet music and the brass key to the hidden compartments. She wanted to preserve the integrity of the piano and protect the composer's legacy. She sat quietly beside the instrument, reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this moment. The piano, once dismissed by others as an old relic, had revealed its secrets and shared its hidden beauty with her. Ayla felt a deep sense of gratitude for the opportunity to be part of something so extraordinary. In the days that followed, Ayla continued to practice and refine the hidden composition. She played it repeatedly, savoring the intricate melodies and the emotional depth of the music. She documented her findings, creating a careful record of the sequences, the interactions between the notes and the hidden mechanisms, and the connections to the composer's letters. Ayla felt a sense of responsibility to preserve the work and ensure that it would be appreciated by others who could understand its significance. Word of Ayla's discovery eventually spread to other musicians and historians who were intrigued by the story of the hidden composition. Many came to see the piano, listen to the music, and study the hidden mechanisms that had preserved the composer's work for decades. Ayla shared her knowledge and experiences carefully, explaining how she had uncovered the secrets, decoded the music, and completed the hidden masterpiece. People were amazed not only by the music itself, but also by the ingenuity and foresight of the composer who had created such a complex and enduring work. Through it all, Ayla remained humble and focused on the music. She continued to explore the piano, experiment with sequences, and appreciate the richness of the hidden melodies. The experience had changed her, deepening her understanding of music, history, and the value of patience and curiosity. She felt a lasting connection to the composer and to the piano itself, which had trusted her to uncover its secrets. Ayla knew that the journey with the piano had taught her more than she could have imagined. She had discovered hidden compartments, decoded complex music, and brought a long-lost masterpiece to life. She had learned the importance of careful observation, patience, and persistence. Most importantly, she had discovered the joy of connecting with history through music and the power of following one's curiosity with dedication. As she sat beside the piano, playing the completed composition one final time for the day, Ayla felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The piano, once overlooked and dismissed, had become a source of inspiration, a teacher, and a companion. The hidden music, symbols, and letters had led her on a journey of discovery that she would never forget. Ayla knew that the piano would continue to share its beauty with the world, and she felt proud to have been the one to unlock its ancient secret. She smiled, feeling a quiet satisfaction and gratitude. The piano was no longer just an old relic. It was a living testament to creativity, history, and the enduring power of music.